Zapu does not believe, as a matter of principle, that there can ever be any solution as far as Gukurahundi is concerned, as long as ZANU is in power. It cannot happen. It does not happen. It won't happen. So we can only mitigate here and there the effects of Gukurahundi, trying to ensure that people get a birth certificate. We could put a plaque here and there, have memorial days here and there, and we've always partnered with Ipechulukazulu for a lot of things. But people should not then see those things and think that there's a solution to Gukurahundi. That's not how you solve Gukurahundi. Gukurahundi needs a lot of things to come at play. But as a matter of principle, we do not think that anything meaningful in terms of solving Gukurahundi can happen under the watch of ZANU-PF, of ZANU. So if we are willing to solve Gukurahundi, if we're interested in the issue of Gukurahundi, we must make sure that we vote ZANU out. And then we hold them accountable. There is no way these people can be the accused and the prosecutor and the courts and the witnesses at the same time. It can't happen. So anyone with an expectation that ZANU one day would solve Gukurahundi, it's a misplaced expectation. They have failed for I don't know how many years. Just to apologize, to say, we are sorry we killed you. And they have come up with an imperacy that does not have a truth-telling and transitional justice mechanisms. And you can tell they have even partnered with the brokers, Matebel and Collective and chiefs that are under their payroll. They are doing everything to duck and dive. They are doing everything to evade responsibility and justice on the issue of Gukurahundi. So anyone who thinks that there can be a solution for Gukurahundi under ZANU is having a lot of exaggerated expectations. It's impossible. It cannot happen. And as Zapu, we're not going to waste our time trying to seek for a solution for Gukurahundi under ZANU government. What we will do and what we call Zimbabweans will do, vote these people out and hold them accountable, not only for the crimes of Gukurahundi, but for all the other crimes that are involved in running down a country like Zimbabwe. What I can say to you, comrade, is that Zapu is building a party, a political party. We are building a party with a separate identity, with objectives and goals. And for now, we have not seen the need to consider an electoral pact or arrangement of any sort, because we are building a mass movement. And I do not think that the question is always fair when we are asked if we will form an alliance with the MDC alliance with a pact of some sort. Remember, in 2018 we did that. Why then not say this time the alliance must support us? Maybe. We have a long history of alliances, pacts, or whatever arrangements with other political actors. And many a times we have always gotten the raw end of the stick, starting from the early 70s during the war, where we had a lot of other pacts. Remember, we had arrangements with Mzorewa, we had arrangements at Zipa, at Lancaster, we had arrangements with ZANU. We went into them in 1987. We have had a lot of other arrangements. And Zapu has always given the raw end of the stick. These can be used as learning curves for us, maybe to do better next time, should we want to consider a pact or an alliance or whatever arrangement we would want to get into. But all this history also tells you that Zapu is willing to do whatever is necessary for our people, or for the freedom for our people. We are always ready to sacrifice and to work with anyone. I mean, when it comes to the betterment and the development of our people. I mean, if we could join ZANU and work with them for 22 years, I do not think that there can be a party worse than ZANU that we can't work with. So once we feel maybe we have common goals, common interest towards an election, I think our national executive and our leadership will look into it and see if we can do it. But for now, we cannot make a decision, because our primary focus is to build the party, is to strengthen the party, is to stand as a party with an independent identity. They must also, as we look into this question, I think comrades must be aware that we have a new leadership that has come in, a new administration after our Congress barely 3 months ago. So you would understand that once a new leadership comes in, there is a lot of internal housekeeping that has to take place before we are able to have a consolidated program of action. And remember, all this happens during the time of COVID. Now, I would also want you to understand that when Zapu left ZANU PF in 2009, the period between 2009 and 2000 and maybe the first 10 years or so, what the plan was to make sure that we consolidate the pullout. We make sure that there is no issues that surround the pullout. We build a strong party with proper systems internally. It was not the primary objective of the first few years was not necessarily to contest elections. It was to build an institution, a strong party. Remember also that you are dealing with different characters. You have those that were never in Zapu, that now joined Zapu, that were never in the initial Zapu. You have those that had been in Zapu but had spent more time in ZANU than they had spent in Zapu. And then you have those that were born after the GNU, or that were young when the GNU was signed, the unit document was signed, and had never been in any political party. And you have some that are coming from other political parties outside ZANU that are coming together to form a party. Now, to convert these people into a political party, into a system, into an organization, into an institution, it takes a lot of time for us to then find a point of convergence after 22 years of a sabbatical. Surely it takes a lot of time. So our focus really in the first 10 years after the pullout was not necessarily to win power, but was to create a system. That being said, this new administration, as you are seeing that we are now visible in terms of campaigns, in terms of community engagement and visibility in communities and marketing the party, this is the administration that has the responsibility to make inroads in terms of winning elections. And as you are going to see, we are going to win seats. We are going to leave a significant mark in the political terrain in the first 5 years of this new administration. So how many people are we looking at? I think there's still ongoing conversations internally and development of strategies before we're then able to back a figure using strategies. Thank you.
Do you not think that by-elections in one way or the other are actually a way of forcing you to have structures where you may not have structures? I mean, participating in every constituency in Zimbabwe should be the mainstay of a national party. That is a party that covers the whole country. Otherwise, if you then have pockets that you leave out, you are opening yourself to a lot of weaknesses and rigging and all that stuff. So I am saying, if you are opening or if you are participating even in areas where you do not have a wide support base, in actual fact, participating there will force you to then have a structure. In other words, you are going to be implanting structures in those areas that may not necessarily be where you are dominant at a particular moment, but it then gives you the time and the opportunity to germinate and grow in those areas.
For by-elections, we cannot be rigged where we're not contesting. So I don't understand what you're asking. If I'm not contesting in Shuruku, how am I rigged? How does the outcome of Shuruku affect the outcome of, say, Makokoba, where I'm contesting as an example? So I don't think that it is a proper analysis. But do we think that elections are a good platform for us then to gain visibility and build structures? Even outside an election season, when we build structures, we are building them for an election. Every serious political party exists so that it can contest elections. So when I build structures in 2020, I'm building structures because I know that there's an election coming in 2023. In 2024, when I'm building structures, I'm building with a mind that in 2028 there will be an election. So every program that a political party does generally is aimed at contesting power. And as Nonisel in Komeskalin, you do not want to say now there's an election, let me be visible. Visible to who? It's a campaign. You are campaigning, you are getting your structures to bring in members to vote for you. So if one wants to contest for an election, don't build a party for an election, which is the problem that we have in Zimbabwe. You call for an election every day, and Harry feels, no, I can also lead. Let me start my own party. That's why now we are going towards by-elections. You will see a lot of parties that some we have never heard of. Some were formed for by-elections. We're going to 2023. A lot of parties are going to be formed simply because people believe that when there's an election, we must start a party, we must be more visible and what have you. Zapu is a serious political party. We prepare for elections well in advance. So, and when we go into elections, we are testing our preparations. We do not use structures to test elections. No, we use elections to test our structures. And I feel what we have done, our approach was the best that we could do at this particular time. Remember that elections cost resources. You do not just contest. You must check, do you have the resources? And where do those resources come from for a political party? They come from the structures that are within that locality. So you do not expect Zapu to go to a place where we don't have structures and say, we're building a structure. And then 2 days later, give us money, want to make a poster, give us money, want to pay ZEC, give us money because we want to campaign in your area. It doesn't work like that. We prepare for an election way in advance. You don't prepare for an election because an election has been called. Build structures in advance.
Evening, comrades. My question here to Babu Hanana is about the GNU, the so-called the marriage of convenience. I hear that you mentioned that the comrades that joined there went there to save lives, which eventually happened. But again, you speak about the level of fear that was amongst those who came into that space. Don't you think that in that matter, when you joined the GNU under fear or being, sorry to use isindebele, but joining that marriage under the scope of being fear, it totally reduced your influence, leading us to what we are facing today, where we see that we are not taken serious, even though our people try to remember those who passed away during Kukuraundu. They are being denied that opportunity. So don't you think that the GNU totally silenced the victims of Kukuraundu?
See, when people are going into any agreement and they're saying you want to save lives, the initial life that you want to save is yours, so that you live to fight another day. Comrades, we must not analyze the issue of Zapu going into ZANU outside its context. Let's remember that we have come out, it's after the war, and as it is expected, everyone puts the gun down to support the government, right? So no one could have money to keep a secret army anyway, or try to fight the government, because even if the government were rogue, the narrative would have been you are rising against this government because you want to accept that they've won an election. So our fathers had a catch-22. So the best thing to do is to allow time to mitigate or to save us. How do we do it? We need to make sure that we come up with a program and a plan of action that will expose the lies of government, but also keep our people safe so that they live to fight another day. So were people afraid? Yes, they are human beings. These people are not made of metal. Were they disappointed? Yes, they've been fighting for this country. Some joined the struggle as early as 1953, and guess what? They have seen a lot of people, a lot of comrades die. But what is astounding to them now is that they are losing more comrades in Zimbabwe than they lost in Rhodesia. They are losing more comrades in Zimbabwe than they lost in Zambia. They are losing more comrades to Mugabe than they lost to Smith. And you must understand that context, that trauma, that pressure. Let's not think that these people were living in a normal environment and they said to say, okay, fine, let's walk into an inclusive economy, which is the narrative that is being pushed by our enemies. And the sad thing is that our people want to believe that narrative without understanding the context in which we came into unity. And once we continue to do that, we will be a generation that has no icons, will be a generation that has no heroes, because all of the people that have led before us were either stupid, cowards, or some such thing. And comrades, if we allow other people to tell us who our heroes are, to describe and to define them for us, we will have a problem. We look at ZANU. ZANU ousted their own president, citing that is that bad and that bad. But when he died, they elevated him to the status of immortality. They declare a holiday after him. It was actually before he died. There's a holiday named after him, and when he's dead, he's a hero, and everybody's saying he gave us this, and they're crying and what have you. But look at what we do when somebody from Zapu who fought for this country died. In as much as they have weaknesses, we want to erase even their history. Comrades, I'm telling you, if we continue like this, we will be a generation without a foundation, we will be a people without an identity, with no history, with nothing. And our enemies and those that wanted us dead, those that killed our fathers because of fear, they were afraid of our fathers and their strength and stamina and charisma. That is why they killed them. Our fathers were a threat to our enemies. And if we are not careful, those very same people that killed our fathers will kill us. If they don't subdue us by the gun, they will subdue us by making sure that we urinate on the graves of our fathers, and we must not allow that. Let's analyze Kukura. Let's analyze the issue of going into unity in context to what was happening. Try and put yourself in the shoes of Joshua and the other leaders that had fought a protracted struggle for over 30 years, fighting for independence. You get it, the people that were fighting will now fight you. Comrades, it was not an easy decision. It had to be done. And no one has ever said we could have done things differently. And what was that different? We could not have done it any other way. This was the best thing for our people. Let's analyze that thing fairly and properly. But also, why do we want to raise these issues today? How are those issues relevant now to fighting for a better Zimbabwe? I have a problem with people that would want to downplay the sacrifice of Zapu, but they themselves are not doing anything meaningful and significant to set our people free. Joshua Nkomo and many others, when they saw that the country has been colonized and that the colonist was governing in a way that they do not agree with, they went into the bush, they went into war, they fought, they stood up and were counted. Over and above us criticizing the decisions of Zapu, we must ask ourselves, what is it that we are doing as a people to set our people free? What is it that we are doing now to liberate our people from the shackles of ZANU-PF? That is the most important thing. What lessons can we learn from Zapu that fought against colonialism and that fought against ZANU? We should be using those lessons to say to ourselves, what can we do differently to make sure that we win this battle and this fight and this war against this rogue government of ZANU?